How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Good to see you, man. Long time no see.
A long time, man. I was trying to think. I don't remember. It was either when we went and got sushi or was it the event in Northern California? I don't remember which one it was.
Um, Man, you sure it wasn't Squire? It might have been Squire the last
Or it
time.
was Squire. Dude, no,
Or
you're right.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly what it was. It was
yeah,
Squire. Yeah,
yeah.
still far too long, man.
Far too long. Anyways,
Man,
what an opportunity, man. Thank you for having me here. Let me know how I can serve your people.
brother, I appreciate you so much. No, this is fantastic. We're definitely going to honor the hour. We have got a bunch of studs from all over. When I say studs, I mean good men who are working to be great at being men, as well in all ways, man. Fitness, family, faith, finances, all the above. So we're honored to have you. I want to just chat with you for a few minutes, and then, gentlemen, as you guys have questions, as those things start popping, I want you to pop your hands up. Just get your hands up. The more hands I see, the more I'll just shut up quicker and get out of the way. So you can talk to the man, the myth, the legend over here. Um, how's things, man? First and foremost, before how's things? Like, what's going on with you? How's things? How's the family? How's Cookie? How's Andrew?
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone, thankfully, everyone is doing great. And I'm massively grateful for that because I know life is full of weird situations and scenarios. In September, my mom passed away in her mid 80s from dementia, Alzheimer's. And truth be told, that was a little hard on me because that's your mom is your source of life. But I stuck to my structure, my discipline, my routines, and I was able to kind of mourn my mom's loss and realize that I've got to be an example to my son and daughter of, how we continue to move on in her legacy. So, and that is what I did. Outside of that, Chloe drives a car now and she's 16. She's got a job at Chipotle. She's just is a great athlete. Andrew is 18 and he's got a car and a girlfriend and a job and works on his music. My wife went back to school, Pepperdine University, and to be a therapist, And we had this agreement where, she would stay home and raise two amazing kids. And she did a wonderful, wonderful job of that. Our kids are not brainwashed. They are not the drones of humanity. They're very free, independent thinkers. And so last year, she's like, hey, I think it's time I go to Pepperdine and get my therapy degree. I was like, woman, let me know how I can support. So
All
that's
right.
exciting. And of course, I got into no-gi jujitsu, and as it turns out, I love it. I'm horrible at it, but I love it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Where are you going down there?
Well, I'm spoiled, right? I've got my own gym, my own private gym, about
Yeah,
3 miles from here, and so there's a black belt named Mike Valencia.
yeah.
He actually ran a magazine called Jiu Jitsu Magazine, and anyway, he's a professor at the Gracie Baja locally, but I
Yep.
hired him. He comes to me 3 times a week,
Nice.
and I get concentrated, condensed training, which is what I like. I like to learn quickly.
Congrats, man. That's awesome. Well,
Thank
next
you.
time
How are
I'll make
you?
it out. Dude, man, life is good. We are rocking and rolling. We've got, men's, obviously these guys are crushing it. The young men are crushing it. We've got our women's program launch. We've got our young women's coming in the fall. Tim and I have got 50 campuses. Many of these campus owners are here. So we got 50 campuses launching in fall of 2024. We think we're going to do another 100 in 2025, man. So
Beautiful. Let me know how I can help and support, man. You know me,
thank
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Likewise, man. Likewise, including come on out to Austin because I get to get my roles in with Tim, with our mutual friend Tim, and that's always fun to get beat up at just a different level. I get beat up enough locally, but that's enough to. It's nice to get beat up by a silverback gorilla out there
I was
too.
going to say, by a silverback gorilla, it's a
Yeah,
very different type of beat up, I'm
it
sure.
definitely is, man. It definitely is. I've already got questions coming up, and this is great. I'm selfishly though going to take a couple of minutes, some things that I just want to talk to you about, man, and just ask about, and then we'll open it up to these guys. So,
Sure.
I love what you said. Your wife's going back, and she's getting the degree and going in and getting her therapy done. And I was talking to another mutual friend of ours this morning, Nick Bear,
Yeah.
and we were just talking about all things mindset, and really was just checking in, man. Hey, how's it going? And keep getting after it, kind of deal. And I remember you being on his podcast, and it's one of my favorite clips. It's one of the very few things that I've actually saved on Instagram. I don't do a whole lot of saving, but I saved one. When you're talking about the thing that holds most men back is the stories, right, that they're telling themselves.
Stories that we tell ourselves. Yes, sir.
That's exactly it, man. So My question to you to start is where do you see, because you're doing so much, you're serving so many people in so many different verticals. What are the common things you're seeing? What are these stories and where are they coming from? And then my follow-up to that will be, how do you keep yours about yourself updated
Mm-hmm.
and where it needs to be? So what are you seeing as kind of the patterns that are breaking most people, and how are you continuing to keep yours positive?
Yeah. So first, let's talk about the stories, because I realized if had I done a better job on that episode with Nick Bear, I would have said that it's the stories that people tell themselves, and each time you tell that story, you reinforce it. Is what I said, which is true. However, what happens? The reason we end up having a crappy life, and whether it's a crappy life by way of bad relationship or self-destructive, or we end up gaining weight and we never reach our fitness and health goals, or we never reach our financial goals or spiritual goals, is because the story that we tell ourselves each time we tell ourselves starts changing our belief systems. When a story is told often enough, you begin to have a new set of belief systems. Those belief systems, Matt, end up changing your identity, creating a new false identity, by the way. And I see Dave Smith there, so handsome in his uniform, and
Yeah.
he's a project guy. And so I can tell you that um, we talk about the false identity that we carry as men sometimes, because like in my case, I was molested as a kid. And when you're molested as a kid, you grow up thinking that I'm unlovable, I'm broken, people are going to think I'm gross, I could never let anyone know. So I walked through life, told myself this story, had these belief systems, had an identity that you can basically discard me. I'm unlovable, broken, and useless to humanity. And therefore, so once we develop a shitty identity, we go looking in life for evidence to reinforce that identity. So it goes story, belief systems, identity, and then evidence to reinforce that identity. And at the project, and anyone can do this, they go, all right, well, is that story really true? Well, I was molested, yeah, so that part's true. But am I broken? No, I worked with the therapist, and he said I'm not broken. In fact, this happens to one out of every three people, or one out of every four people. And really, on your entire timeline of life, it's not a mountain, it's more of a speed bump. And if you just look at it that way and heal through it, you'll be okay. All right, so what is my true story? And Kevin Downing, my therapist, had me write that out. He says, when I was between the ages of 4 and 6, I was molested by two older boys. But today I am ... He gave me that sentence. And so that is the new story. And I started writing that letter to myself, to that young man. And I said, but today, Bedros, you've got 7 companies. You've invested in another 4. These 7 companies give back to Shriners Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots. You've got 97 kids adopted through Compassion International. You're an international speaker. You're a best-selling author. And so, man, you start rewriting that story, and I'm writing it and reading the words. I'm like, holy shit. If I just read that, not realizing that's me, I would say, that guy's awesome. I want some of what he's got. So as I started writing that, Kevin was like, well, what's your belief system? I'm like, man, I believe I'm a great guy. I'm an awesome guy. I'm an asset to humanity. Like, I'm such a valuable person to the world. Like, that is very different than the belief system of being broken and shameful, right? Okay, well, if that's your belief system, then what's your identity? My identity is that I need to go out there and serve. Like, I'm a very important human. I need to serve my family. I need to be an example to my kids. I need to be an example to the men and the communities that I serve. Okay, got it. And then what do? I go looking for evidence. And of course, the evidence comes by way of project graduates telling me, man, I was going to kill myself. I literally have 9 letters in my desk drawer right here from men who have graduated the project and said, I was going to commit suicide had it not been for the project. Right? So we can find evidence for whatever we're looking for, whether we are broken and shameful and useless. You'll go find evidence for that, or I'm an asset to humanity and valuable to the world. You'll always find what you're looking for. And so it's story, belief systems, identity, and then evidence. And you literally just have to start writing down, okay, that was the old story. Who am I today? And if you're like, shit, I don't have any wins. Well, guess what? Start stacking some wins. Start doing cool shit. Do jujitsu, go surfing, adopt a couple of kids from an impoverished community. Like, donate whatever little amount you can. Be a part of an organization that goes out and digs wells. And you start writing that down. And as Jesse Itzler says, that's one hell of a life resume. And you go, man, that's a belief system that I'm a good human. And then the identity and the evidence follow thereafter.
God, that's so good, man. That's it. It starts stacking wins, and that's where confidence comes from, right? It's that undeniable proof. I've stacked all these wins. I can look back and I can go, cool, man. I am the guy who says that I am. I've got these wins. I can go back and do. So as you're helping guys go through this, are they coming to the real? Because another thing that I love, man, that I've heard you say a number of times, and I think we're very much on the same page as this. You hear a lot of individuals, but hear a lot of men who go, I just I haven't found my purpose yet. I haven't found my calling. Whereas, I think we lean in, I think you're on the same page, correct me if I'm wrong, where we're like, no, start doing something, start serving others, start forging a purpose, start stacking those wins for yourself so that your growth as a service to humanity then unlocks this purpose, right? Like you forge it more than you find it.
Bingo, bingo.
Right?
And it's fun, bro. We say the same thing in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
When people ask me that, I haven't found my purpose yet, so I don't know. And I always remind them, your purpose is not an object that's lost to be found. It is to be developed. And you say forged, I say to develop. And you do that by saying, all right, well, I don't know if my purpose is to go help out at church, but you know what? I think that's a real meaningful thing to do. So let me go do that. Let me also go help out at this children's center. Let me also go help out at this marathon and see what all those things are interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I'll see which one starts that my heart really is called to do. But if you're just waiting there for purpose to fall out of a tree and hit you in the head, you'll grow old and still stay waiting.
That's exactly right, man. Oh, I love that. So guys might be listening to this and this, I'm assuming you're okay. We put this out as a podcast and everything too,
Yes, sir.
right? On that. So, as we have listeners that are checking this out too, and they're listening, okay. They're like, did I freeze?
You did, but you're back. But you froze in
Okay.
the most handsome way, so it was great.
Well, good. I do that on purpose, B. You think that was an accident? Dude, I know what I'm doing. So, as people are listening to this, man, and if they go, all right, well, yeah, that's easy for Bedros to say, right? It's easy. It must be nice. And I know you get that, hey, that must be nice. Yeah, because you have 7 businesses. Must be nice. You're invested in these other 4. It must be nice, B, because, you've got all this kind of stuff. Do you get the must be nice comments, questions, concerns? Do you get some of that?
I mostly get those on the YouTube comments for my show.
Sure.
It must be nice being rich and being able to say, go out, do it's like, don't forget, man, I ate out of dumpsters, lived on what do you call it, Medi-Cal and food stamps. But I always have to remind people, yes, it is very nice. I love my life and I would not trade it for anything. But make no mistake about it, I earned it. It wasn't given.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's right. And so bridging that gap, that earning, because I don't want anybody to hear this and go, okay, well, I don't want to have the must be nice crowd. And I'm thankful for all the men that are on here live with us, because I know they're not that crowd, but I know there's still people that get stuck in that mentality. And I think another thing that I see from you and I hear from you often, and I've seen this, I mean, when we've spent time together in person too, the consistency that you bring to the table and everything you do, the intentionality that you bring to the table and everything you do is second to none. It's not magic. There's not superpowers, right? You're intentional and you are consistent. It is something that I know I see men struggle with more than almost anything else, is that consistency, and just go, it's the little compromise where it's like, I've earned this day off. I've earned this time off. I've earned this. That consistency when you're eating out of dumpsters, when you're doing, where did you get that? Where was that? Was that a DNA thing? Was it looking to the parents? Like, where did you go? No, man, I need to get myself consistent to get back on track and push forward.
I can tell you that it was not factory installed. It is not a DNA thing for me. Some people, I think, they're factory installed that way. Yeah. I'm not it. My default is to sit on the couch, eat a bowl of cereal, and watch the A-Team followed up by Knight Rider. That's our generation. You get what I'm saying? Yes. That's what I did.
Shows, man.
Yeah, exactly. Real men. But in all seriousness, that's not my DNA to be that guy. The pain that I lived in, and remember, we lived in Section 8 housing, food stamps, Medi-Cal, being laughed at because I'm an immigrant to this country, didn't speak English. And so my dad had 3 different jobs. My older brother, older sister had multiple jobs. My mom had multiple jobs. I was a latchkey kid. And so, because I'm 6 years old when we come to this country, I was 6. My brother was 19. My sister is 22. So add to all the weird stuff, I'm also the oops baby. If you do the math, you see that I'm the oops baby. So my sister, who was 22 years old, had a job at a pizzeria as a server, and she would come home crying to my dad And she would say, the owner of this pizzeria is very suggestive, and he's touching me inappropriately, brushing up against me inappropriately. And she would come home crying. And my dad, and I hate saying this, but my dad would plead with her, just stay another week, stay another month. Like, we need the money. We're trying to get out of the Section 8 housing complex and get into a place where there's less gangs and less violence, right? And we needed to pool the money. And so she would reluctantly go back to work, only to come back the next time and cry to my dad. Well, if you do the math, my sister being 22, me being 6, my brother being 19, when I was born, my sister pretty much raised me. She was like a mom figure to me. So all the right things happened to me, where I was naturally, by default, factory installed, lazy, and wanted to sit around and eat shit and be a fat kid. However, by the time I was 7.5 years old, seeing my sister cry and she raised me, I remember as clear as I can close my eyes right now and picture it, walking up to her in that apartment as she's crying and sobbing. And I said, one day I'm going to be so rich, you'll never have to work again. And I've told this story before from stage, and every time I get goosebumps telling it. Listen, when you're 7 years old, you think that that story of one day I'm going to be rich is going to help her today. She's probably thinking, like, okay, you're a fucking child right now. How is this helping me now? But that was such a visceral thing for me to feel so helpless, that my darling sister, man, who raised me, is pleading with my dad to quit her job. And he's like, no, stay, because we need the money. And knowing what's happening there, I would just, something flipped, man. And I'm telling you, man, people become heroes in the reluctant hero story, right? Like the guy that wants no trouble, I want no problems. Before you know it, he's saving the building full of burning people because he was the only one there, and you're called to do it, and fucking something switched in him. That's what happened with me. And I think people need to put their back against the wall more. And I realized as I look back, I felt so helpless, and my back was against the wall. I felt my family's back was against the wall, that I'm going to be the one, as Ed Milet said. And so fast forward, for the last 15 years, my sister has not had a job. She has taken care of my mom and dad until recently my mom passed away. I've paid her very well and paid off her house, and I love her dearly. So I made good on my promise, but well over almost 2 decades later.
So great though, man. Oh, I love that.
But that's what made me.
Yes, sir.
This level of consistent. I realized that if I'm going to become that guy, I have to be able to, one, delay gratification. Because then after that, I'm like, wait, how do I become that guy? Again, it goes back to story. What is the story? I want to be filthy rich. All right. What is the belief system? I have to have these certain beliefs. What do rich people have? They have structure. They have discipline. They delay gratification, and they are consistent. Here's the best part. Even if and even when. Even if you're sick, even if the wife is upset at you, even when it's raining, even if when I tore my tricep on May 20th, I didn't stop working out. My legs and back got bigger because my chest and shoulders and arms couldn't, because I couldn't use my tricep. So I just doubled down on every other body part. And everyone around me is like, you are nuts. I go, no, you are nuts for taking time off if you get injured. Right. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving medical advice here. But what I am saying is I've become so methodically consistent that if Bedros is going to be there, like, you can bet your bottom dollar I will show up.
Damn straight. I verify that absolutely, as does your life, brother. I love that. I want to let gentlemen, I'm going to let you guys jump in. I'm going to ask for a couple things in particular. One, obviously, we want to thank our our guests for the time, but two, we want to get right to the point. We want to try to be able to get as many questions as we can, because we are going to honor the hour here too. The last one, I'm going to sneak in before I grab G, because I see G's in there and I know he's going to come with some great stuff automatically. You are a somebody who I look at and go, okay, this man acts in a heroic fashion, and I know you well enough to know how you show up, to know how you serve, and I don't use that word lightly. I believe that's very much, you are somebody who is serving humanity.
Thank you.
You absolutely, sir. You, knowing you and the self-awareness that you have, and I do the same thing with myself, and with Tim and I were talking about this the other day. Your story, the hero story. Heroes have something that they're still working on. Superman still had his kryptonite. He saw. So for you, for B, what is the thing that you're like, oh, here's what I'm still working on, man. Here's where I want to get back. And whether it's like, I need to work on this right now, or it's just like in general, like, what are you still working on for you?
There's really two things. I guess the politically correct thing to say would be patience. I'm a very impatient person. But the real truth beyond the patience is that I still feel sometimes that I'm not good enough, that I'm still that immigrant. I still have to earn my spot. Um, I still don't feel I've arrived. I've made it. And in some ways, I think that's a gift because it keeps me so driven, but it
Yeah.
also irritates the hell out of my wife.
Understood. Yeah.
People around me who are like, dude, stop and celebrate. I'm like, I can't, must continue.
God, dude, we talked about that last night. Yes, I understand that. That's probably why your wife is now going back to school to be a therapist. So there you go. It's all
Right,
good.
right, exactly. She wants to fix me.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. All right, G, let's get you in here, sir.
All right. And
There we
Mr. Bedros, thank you so much for coming on the show, sir,
Thank you.
and for
Appreciate it.
making time for us here. I wanted to ask you, kind of into your entrepreneurial mind, because you have a ton of, you have a lot of businesses, a lot of things going on, and a lot of us right now coming out of class one in Apogee, since we just completed the first year, we're getting into these entrepreneurial ventures ourselves, right? Starting podcasts and going into coaching and doing that whole thing. And as we're in this season of building, as you've been in many times, how have you found mechanisms or ways of turning off, I should say, your entrepreneurial mind when you're with your family, right? Like when you're being present as a father, when you're being present as a husband, and turning off the switch and knowing when to kind of, not think about business, not think about that deal, not think about what you got going on the podcast side or anything like that. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, sir.
It's a muscle. And those of you that are just starting out, that muscle's not developed yet. And so, your business is a baby, man. Like it needs a lot of attention all the time as it grows now. Like, I'm looking out my office door there and I see Bryce standing there holding court. Bryce is the CEO of my Fit Body Bootcamp franchise. He oversees the hundreds of locations, tens of thousands of people. And I don't. It's his problem, right? Not mine. I'm the founder. So all this to say, but when it was a baby and I was selling every franchise location, I was coaching, like, man, whether I'm with Chloe or Andrew, my wife, it didn't matter. I'm processing how to make Fit Body Bootcamp better in every way. But one day when I was on my phone and Chloe was talking to me, my daughter, she was a puppy at the time, she grabbed my face like this and pulled it towards her away from my phone. And I realized I only have a finite amount of years with my daughter, with my son. And so I need to be intentional. And it's difficult. But like I said, it's a muscle that you develop over time. And sometimes your daughter is going to drag your face there to remind you. And I needed that. I'm a pretty slow learner. So when my wife told me 100 times, it didn't click. When my daughter dragged my face towards her face, because it was in the iPhone, it clicked. And I realized there's a finite amount of time. And then I still screwed up, but each time I was more aware, and it's a muscle you become more deliberate. Like, when you, I'm sure you guys all work out. When you go to train your back, it's your back muscles are the ones that you have the worst mind muscle connection with. That's because it's behind you. You can't watch. I can watch my bicep contract. I can't watch my back contract. So I don't have a mind muscle connection. But you train long enough, and you know how to get those muscles to contract. And so it takes time to build that muscle as well.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Matty Dub.
Bedros, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, sir.
In your book, you talk about how at one instance you had to go repair an irrigation line. You realize it was an opportunity cost of $5,000, right?
Yeah.
And your father was that example for you of how to work hard, kind of do all these things and be the do everything type guy.
Yeah.
How do you balance that out now, realizing it doesn't make sense for you to go repair an irrigation line? How do you raise your kids to recognize that they can do all those little tasks, but it really doesn't make sense a lot of times? How do you balance that out?
That's a hard one, man. There's a dichotomy there, right? Because I want my kids to have work ethic. I want them to have the blue collar mentality, but I want them to live this white collar life that I've created for them and for myself. I like this. And, but I think I found the balance by way of doing what, I forget the author's name. When I think of the author's name, I'll let you know. But there was an author who wrote a book and he said, I don't want to pay my kids for taking out the garbage. I don't want to pay my kids for cleaning the house because I don't want to encourage them to make money that way. I want to encourage them by pay them by gaining knowledge, to read books, and to do work around the house that is going to generate income, even if it's write the checks. Like, you're going to write the bills so you can see how much money is going out. I'll confirm that that's how much money goes to the gas company, to whatever. And I was like, holy crap, that is brilliant. It's the guy who wrote the book 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. His name escapes me, but the book is 20 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I was like, man, that is brilliant. And that's exactly what I've done with my kids. And then as they were growing up, I go, well, I'm going to go one further. And my wife, John Maxwell, thank you, Jim. John Maxwell. Yeah. So it's John Maxwell's book. And so my wife and I went one better. I'm like, look, we're flying first class everywhere. We went to Scotland and we stayed in a castle instead of a 5-star hotel. Like, from time to time, we got to give our kids, like, we got to sit on Southwest Airlines in the very back where the seat doesn't recline, and you're like literally touching the restroom wall where everyone comes in and out of the restroom. And so when we love seeing shows at Vegas, because we're only 45 minutes away from Vegas here. So when we take the kids to CA or O or any of those Las Vegas shows, every now and again we would fly Southwest Airlines, and they would go like, wait, where's first class? Because they got used to ordering peanut butter jelly sandwiches from first class and all this shit. Like, hey, it takes this to get that. And we just want to let you know that this is where you end up if you start trading time for dollars. But if you're able to solve problems for people and charge money and then scale that, it's a very different mindset. And so work ethic is good, but scalability of brilliance is even better. And so it's this fine balance, man, that you have to come up with, but you can and you do. And, another rule that my wife created was every Christmas, every birthday, however many toys you get to keep one, and we donate the rest. And we would donate the rest to Toys for Tots. And that's how we ended up actually adopting Toys for Tots. And now every Christmas, we buy about $250,000 worth of toys and donate it to the local chapter. But by them learning how to give back, how to serve, and feeling what Southwest Airlines feels like, instead of sitting in upper class, not even first class, upper class. When you're flying Virgin Atlantic, there's first class and then upper class. I was like, dude, I know the difference. I need them to feel the difference. And then that book from John Maxwell just triggered the fact that I need to pay them for being high performers and not for doing trivial stuff like our housekeeper does. And we even told them, hey, our housekeeper's name is Marlon. She's there 5 days a week. She does everything from laundry to cleaning to color coding my shirts and their shirts. And hey, you guys like having your shit ironed and color coded? Yeah. When you move out of here, have your own family, you're going to want a Marlon, aren't you? Yes. You can't just trade time for dollars. You have to scale your brilliance in a way that's more meaningful to humanity. And so we just run that stuff by them, and they all of a sudden start understanding that, okay, work ethic is good, but scaling brilliance is better.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie.
You're welcome.
Boom. Love it. Mikey T here in North Carolina.
Bedros, thank you so much. This is amazing. So I'll get right to it. So my wife and I are opening an Apogee education campus. We're one of the 50, and standing up my first LLC, and this is our first run at it. Obviously, we have an awesome support network that's going to make this succeed. My question is, how do you weigh out? I still am a W-2 employee. I work full-time, corporate America. I got to rip the Band-Aid off at some point, and I know going all in on the school is going to be what makes it successful. How do you kind of weigh that out as to at what point in time I need to just go for it? Obviously, there's that safety net of my paycheck, but
Sure. But that safety net of the paycheck is also called golden handcuffs as well, right? So here's what I tell a lot of people that I coach when they're right at that dichotomy. Because remember, when we get Fit Body Bootcamp owners on board, they're like, man, I'm opening up my Fit Body Bootcamp, but I have a day job. I'm an accountant. I go, look, tighten the belt as much as you can financially. Get rid of all wasteful spending that you're doing, number one. And you'll thank me for that later, because you'll realize I don't even miss it. And I had like 5 memberships to all these different networks, right? So cut out all the wasteful spending, number one. Number two, put 4 months of money in the bank account, like living money. So once you cut out all, if it's, let's say, $5,000 a month, so 5 times 4 is 20. You're going to put 20 grand in the bank. So if nothing works out with your franchise, with your Fit Body Bootcamp for the next 4 months, you can live. And if in 4 months the franchisor and the franchisee, we haven't figured it out, then you bought into the wrong brand, and I should be sued. You know what I mean? And so same thing would apply here. So I would say tighten the belt financially, stack 4 months of living expenses in the bank, and then pull that Band-Aid, and then do exactly everything that Matt and his team say to make this success. Like follow the recipe. When I see a Fit Body Bootcamp putting in a squat rack or a juice bar or a kids club or a shower, I want to get on a plane, fly over there and slap them in the face, because that is not the Fit Body Bootcamp way. It's not. The Fit Body Bootcamp way does not have a shower. Those are big box gyms. They have multiple showers. If you put one shower in, everyone else is going to be pissed because they can't shower, and that involves different building code stuff, and now it's all fucked up and they blame us. So all this to say, follow the process, tighten the belt, 4 months of income, rip the Band-Aid, off you go.
Boom. What do you think,
Did that
Mike?
help? Good.
Yeah,
Super
banger.
help. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Done.
All right, we got one of these Smith boys looking all handsome in his uniform.
Look at this guy.
I know, right?
It's good to see you. Thanks
What's
for
up,
coming
man?
on.
How are you?
Good. So I get to the point. So learning from Matt here, that words matter, and our definitions of words matter. So a lot of going through the project, I'm thinking that suffering, this is great. I'm suffering, I'm pushing through, I'm flipping the switch. Well, a friend brought to light to me afterwards that we're not suffering what we choose to do voluntarily. So now I'm like, dang, was I really like suffering? And he equated it to like a kid getting like cigarette butts put out on him, whatever trauma he might experience. Like that might be true suffering.
Right.
And you hinted at it in one of your podcasts months ago, about, I think it was a conversation you had with Chris Barth about
Todd, actually. Todd.
Yeah. So about flipping the switch, and those who don't flip the switch, they're in this suffering mindset.
Yeah.
So what if you could expound on that?
Yeah.
A bit. So I know we're getting.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah. So there's true suffering, like you said, God forbid a kid having cigarette butts lit out on him, or being molested, being abused, whatever. And then there's suffering by choice, which really is discomfort, scheduled discomfort, right? What you did when you did the project was scheduled discomfort. You knew that adversity will introduce you to your higher self, because you instinctively know that. We talk about that on the show, on the podcast. It's on the website for the project. And you're like, all right, I want to go through this adversity experience that's specifically guided, that's going to be journaling and teaching along the way, where I can also do some deep inner work, all in a compressed amount of time. Yes, suffering is the process, but it's really scheduled discomfort, which is really what Todd Telkamp was talking about. And when we schedule discomfort, it's great, because if you keep consistently, like all my 6-week challenges are different levels of discomfort, whether I'm doing open mic, and I'm an introvert. So when I go to a comedy club and do 6 weeks of open mic and my butthole is puckered the whole time, or 6 weeks of jujitsu and I'm just being beat up, 3 times a week straight, whatever it is, it's all scheduled discomfort. When the real discomforts come in life, the pandemic, my mom's death, tearing of my tricep, I'm like, oh, I've been here before. And I can navigate this familiar area. Doing what you do, and I've heard Tim Kennedy talk about this all the time. He says, you'll have to tell me the better way how it's said, but it's you're not just going to get a gun, put it away, and then think you're going to use it like fucking John Wick when the bad guy comes. You're going to always drop down to the level of your lowest level of training, right? And it's the same thing. So if I can train myself to be in mental, emotional, and physical discomfort, suffering, then when the real discomfort and suffering comes, I'm like, I've been here. I know how to navigate this. This is familiar. And that's a beautiful place to be, because you're operating at a higher level. Like you and Tim Kennedy might be like, all right, B, we got this. And I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck do I do? I got a gun in my hand. All 3 of us have a gun, right? But for the record, Tim's taught me very well at Operation Black Site. So I like to think that I'd be a useful subject for you guys. But the point is, if I wasn't, I would just be a liability, because I hadn't put myself through the training necessary. And that's what discomfort is. It is training for life.
Awesome. Love you and appreciate you.
Love you, brother. Good seeing you.
See you.
Love it, man. Some good gentlemen right there. And this guy suspiciously looks like the last guy.
Ah, yes.
You may think somebody's getting to ask 2 questions in a row, but it's not true. What's up,
I am neither as good looking or as badass as my brother David, but I am his twin brother.
Good to meet you, Dan.
Good to meet you too, Bedros. Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
I have been following along with the Squire program for a while. I have 3 young boys myself. They're too young for the Squire now, but my question was related to rites of passages for boys.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, what do you think are the most crucial components of a rite of passage for boys to be initiated into manhood?
Good question. I think to expand on that, I think all of you should read the book Raising a Modern Day Knight. I forget the author's name, but Raising a Modern Day Knight. But in it,
Robert.
yes, exactly. But in it, he really talks about which actually Jack Donovan went on to write about it, which is the rite of passage for any man is, in addition to what I'm about to say, are his core values that become non-negotiable, which is what the dad and the tribe of men that dad believes to be righteous must instill. But what Jack Donovan talked about in his book, Way of Men, was strength, and not just physical strength, but mental strength and physical strength, honor, right? Loyalty, honor, like I've got your back, you've got my back, I'm not going to backstab you. Courage, like when we hear a big loud bang, we all run towards the bang and not run away from it. There's that viral video going on Instagram right now, a family of four sitting at a mountainside resort. There's an avalanche coming. Dad starts taking off. Mom has to scoop up the two kids. Like, if I was that dad, the very next thing I would do when that video went public, or even when I got home and realized what I did, is I would eat a bullet personally myself. And you guys can judge me if you want. So strength, honor, courage, and mastery. Mastery, like, gosh, man, like be a productive member of humanity. Like do something, build something, acquire something, master a skill or a talent so you're useful to the tribe. And I think our young men need those four traits, four abilities, plus their core values that are non-negotiable, and they will then march to their own beat of their drum, their radiance, their gut, instead of them being drifting as who's the guy that wrote the book Outwitting the Devil? Napoleon Hill. Yeah, Napoleon Hill says if you don't have your core values and you don't stand for anything, basically, you are drifting through life however the currents take you. And the currents, by the way, are mainstream media, pharmaceutical companies, the Hollywood, the universities and colleges that are absolutely brainwashing our youth. And so, like, my kids went to public high school. They went everything private until high school. We put them in high school public so that they can see the disparity between a Christian school from 0 to 8th grade and then high school. And they're like, holy shit. I'm like, this is the real world. This is what you're going to experience. Now you know your brain has been fortified. Go get them. And they were actually there helping. My son has gotten 6 of his peers off of vapes at school. So anyway, all that to say is because he's got his core values, he's got his own non-negotiables, and he can't be talked into smoking weed or drinking because he knows it's a non-negotiable. And that's what we need to teach as a rite of passage to these young men. We have to do it not with just one Squire program. This is what breaks my heart when people they come to a 12-hour Squire program, father and son. They're like, all right, mission accomplished. It's like, no, the mission should have started when that young man was born. And the mission continues until you take your last breath, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good. And you guys, gentlemen, we have Bedros to thank for Outwitting the Devil being part of the 12 months. In there too, man. When we were in Mexico, I had never read that, B. And I don't remember what, I just remember sitting around the table and you said, yeah, that was by far his best work. And I went home, read it right away, and a freaking killer book. RP.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bedros. Appreciate you spending the time with us. Been looking forward to this this Zoom call for a while now. Read your book last year, and something just is still not completely apparent to me. And you started to answer part of the question on one of the other answers, and it actually threw me off what your answer was. So the question is, was it really the nervous breakdown that was kind of the rock bottom pivotal moment in your life, or was it something else alongside that, to have someone who's gone from being self-described so lazy and so off the mark and just not doing the right things to now hitting a stride and becoming the force that you have become, and the force multiplier, the servant, and the successful person that you are? Like, I thought it was going to be something like consistency, discipline, something like that you were applying these potentials in other places that were giving you successful business, but you were failing in your health and failing in your family. what is there any through line that you can point to that has propelled you, that maybe was leading you, kept you alive back then and then is making you thrive now? And was there like a true pivot that you can point to on when that transition took place?
Yeah, well, I do believe that big transition in terms of me being a fully complete, decent human being really took place 11 years ago when I had that big panic attack, anxiety attack that I thought was a heart attack. Because remember, when my sister went through what I just described, and I was 7 years old, and we had just come here, we're our first year in the United States, that had my back against the wall. So I was like, I'm going to make a ton of money. And if you guys know any marketers or salespeople, they are notorious about this. Direct response marketers, especially. Gary Halbert, and the guy was a legend. Rest his soul. Now he's dead. Gary Halbert, Dan Kennedy, Frank Kern, a dear friend of mine. Frank Kern, well, like he's talked about openly. I was trying to get him off cocaine back then. Very disciplined, very structured, very consistent, very focused, all in making money. And then unhealthy habits, unhealthy life, unhealthy relationships. In fact, I ended up introducing Frank to his current wife, who was a coaching client of mine, and helped get him off cocaine many, many years ago. But you can have all those great traits and only apply it to one certain area of life. In my case, it was I'm going to make an obscene amount of money because money was the problem that was causing my sister to fall apart, right? And so I sacrificed my health, my relationship, and didn't really even do the deep work on myself in terms of what had happened to me as a kid, being molested between the ages of 4 and 6. And so when that anxiety attack happened to me, and I went to a therapist, well, I went to the doctor first, and the doctor put me on Xanax. 4 or 5 days into Xanax, I'm like, I can't do this. I feel numb. I feel no creativity. What's my other option, doc? He's like, how about talk therapy? A good therapist can give you tools to deal with your anxiety, your panics, feeling of just overwhelmed. So, of course, being a type A
It's
person.
not bad.
What's that?
Oh, I think something muted. Sorry, I don't know what
Got
that
it.
was.
Got it. No worries. So anyway, long story short, Kevin Downing, my therapist, about 4 sessions in, he was so good at building rapport with me that 4 sessions in, I just felt like he was like, is there anything else that's bothering you in your life? I'm like, nope, everything else is great. You gave me some good tools, Kevin. Next thing I know, he goes, well, how was your relationship with your parents? I'm like, well, my dad was heavy-handed, and my dad was heavy-handed. He comes from a communist country. That's expected. But what happened to me as a kid was even worse than my dad being heavy-handed. All this to tell you that I opened up and I told him, because I felt safe around him, that I was molested as a kid. We spent the next 15 months doing a deep dive. And that's when I realized that I had used discipline, consistency, structure, focus in just one area of life. I had completely neglected my personal relationship with my wife, even my relationships with my kids, even my relationship with friends, my relationship with self. I had put on 30 pounds at that point because I was just money driven. And so thank God for that big panic attack that I realized how we do anything is how we do everything. And I took all those traits and I said, what do I want this idealized version of me to look like? Well, I've got to have abs. I've got to be a good role model to my kids. I've got to be a kind of husband who takes his wife on a date night at least once a week. And now for the last 10 years, every Wednesday we go on date nights, and it's awesome. But it's so easy, and marketers and salespeople are good at this. We develop we lock onto the one thing to make money, but we just neglect everything else and it falls apart. And that's what I had done. Does that help answer your question?
It does. And it was kind of what I was originally anticipating. It threw me off earlier in the conversation when you had said that, your default setting is to be lazy, right? And maybe that's just is that an overwhelm? Is that when you're kind of like taking your eye off the ball? So that kind of threw me off a little bit.
I see what you're saying. So I've learned that I just have to say yes to great opportunities. Like, so when Matt reached out however many months ago and was like, hey, can you do this? My instinct to everybody is just like, my initial instinct, oh God, it's going to be an inconvenience, right? And I love Matt to pieces. And before this, I've been standing here for 2.5 hours now. I did this for Fuel Hunt, the company that I've invested in. Fuel Hunt, they have a community called Fuel Hunt Rise. I did this for them. And after this, I've got a meeting. If I leave it to my own accord, I want to say, no, I don't want to. I just want to recluse because I'm an introvert and it's going to take time and I got to actually shave and put a hat on. And I just want to be a slob. But I know that that doesn't serve me. So I reluctantly say yes. And then I feel proud of myself for it. And then I do the thing and I go, I'm a fucking winner, because I'm going to walk away from here feeling like I did something. This is difficult for me. I don't like public speaking. Ironically, I get paid 50 grand for speaking events, and I'm booked solid, but I don't enjoy it. I think it's God's cruel sense of humor that's like, hey, I'm going to make you do things to serve humanity. You're going to have to say yes, because I know that if I default to no thanks, I'll just make my own money and I don't need to help your people, Matt, but we'll just still be friends. And Matt wouldn't, he'd still love me. If I said no thanks, I just don't have the desire to, he'd still love me. But I would know that I'm a piece of shit. Like, I've accepted that. So I have to say yes to these opportunities that make my butthole cramp, because I don't want to do it, but I do it because I know it's part of my calling. And so my calling, my purpose trumps my desire for pleasure, if that helps.
So
It does. Thank you so much for your time, and appreciate everything you're doing in the world, sir. Thank you.
No
Thank
doubt about it. No, you are the best, brother. All right, we got a few more gentlemen. Just so you guys know, I know we got a bunch of hands up, and that's awesome. We are going to honor the time here, so I know we only have about 12, 13 more minutes. So we'll get through a couple more, and then we'll let Mr. Keuilian get at it. Mr. Harris.
Bedros, thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
joining us. So, a question. So, as you've seen your life and your businesses develop, how do you deal with kind of the transition period where you realize that you develop new skills or take on new leadership traits, et cetera? Like, when you see that growth potential, like how do you approach that?
I just leap at it now. Like, again, it's a muscle. I was telling the other gentleman, he's like, hey, how do you deal with this? I'm like, it's a muscle you develop where you can just, as soon as I leave here, I'm in dad and husband mode. And then as soon as, when we drive to LA, I take an extra magazine and I have my concealed carry, and now I'm in like protector mode, right? Because I hate LA County. I love Orange County, which is where I live, and the energy in LA is tense. So like, I know how to switch gears very quickly now. And I say that because it's a muscle that I've developed. And so with this, very similarly, can you just maybe reframe your question a little clearer? Because I want to be able to answer it specifically for you, but I don't think I understand it clearly.
Okay, so if I could just, I'll quickly share. So I was part of a group practice. I'm in wealth management. I was part of a group practice, and I just launched my own firm. So
Yeah.
I'm stepping into a role in the industry that I've never been in.
Got it.
So I'm looking at new skill sets and new traits that I've got, problems that I'm faced with.
Okay. So going back to what I was saying then, I've learned that we have to shift quickly, right? And so knowing that, I'm assuming that these new roles and responsibilities that you have to step into, there are people or processes or courses that can teach you how to be a better fill in the blank. And so you have to leap into it. Like, I was a horrible leader. I grew up as a marketer and a salesperson. When I started Fit Body Bootcamp, I realized I'm starting a massive organization that's going to have a hierarchy of teams, an accountability chart, an organizational chart. And so with that, I have to be a better leader. And so soon as I figured that out, I just started getting coaching from Cameron Herold. He was the COO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Dropped 60 grand with him, bought every book on leadership and management of people, better communication, setting expectations. Because I've learned very quickly that if I have to eat a shit sandwich, I want to eat it as quickly as possible. I think Brian Tracy said, if you have to eat a frog, eat it as quickly as possible, right? And so the old me, again, my default is procrastinate, put it off, delegate it to someone else. Like, no, just do it, dude. And let me tell you, when I tore my tricep, I'm like, yes, now I don't have to do jujitsu. Like, part of me was like excited about it. I'm like, listen, fat boy, if all you want to do is just lift weights and go surf, because that's what you're good at, you got to do the thing that's uncomfortable, which is another man's ass on your face while they're trying to lock up your arms or neck or whatever, right? And so I've learned to just say yes to the things that are uncomfortable. And so you're just going to say yes and then leap into it. I think it was Mel Robbins. I think I have the book right, 5-second rule, right over my shoulder. Mel Robbins. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You have 5 seconds to feel sorry for yourself. Like, this is going to be hard. I'm not going to like it. Fuck it. I'm doing it. And then you go find the source, get the education, and become that next version of yourself that's going to lead the organization. And on the other side of that is massive growth, man. Personal development is a byproduct of starting giant companies and solving big problems. It's not journaling. It's the best personal development program out there is go start a business and learn to lead people. You will be the most stoic person over time because you will get humbled if you lead with ego, or if you're a poor communicator, or you're indecisive.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well said.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well said. Scott, speaking of Vegas, Mr. Scotty Groves.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you being on. I also started the jiu-jitsu journey at 40, and it'll completely take over your life. So congratulations. Question on finding and, more importantly, retaining that co-captain level talent who runs your live events, who runs your fitness brand, who runs these things. I'm good at finding people, not good at retaining them, because I get a lot out of people for about 2 or 3 years. They grow in a way that they didn't even think possible. And then they decide they've burnt out, or I've kind of an asshole because I talk the way that you talk. So finding and retaining those co-captains for your different business ventures.
It's a byproduct of leadership. You talk very brutally honest, like I do, I'm assuming, and you're probably very direct. However, Bryce has been with me for 7 years, and Joan has been with me going on 10 years. Brittany 11, Connie 9. I can name it off, and so they know that I can be a bull in a china closet, but I'm always respectful. I'm always considerate. I have as Ed Milet says, my vision is so big that it encapsulates everyone else's vision into it. Joan had told me that her big goal was not to be my assistant for 10 years. When she started me, she goes, one day I want to plan events. So I knew that if I'm going to have events, I got to make sure that her vision of planning events can fit into my multiple events I'm going to run. And today she's plans all my events, et cetera, and runs my event company. So I share that with you because if you're attracting the people, but you're not keeping them, it's a you problem and not a them problem. It's not they got so big and they left. You probably don't have a big enough vision, or you're probably not quite the leader that you need to be yet.
Agree. And 1 or 2 resources for upping that leadership, because I agree with everything you just said.
I would start with Jocko's organization, Echelon Front. Obviously, I'm sure you've read his book, Extreme Ownership. I'm not a big fan of reading books on leadership. I'm a big fan of doing leadership stuff. So come do the project. You learn leadership very quickly. Go to Echelon Front and go through that whole experience that Jocko has. And there's a lot of other great leaders. John Maxwell, his organization has a lot of great leadership workshops and events that then they test you. And you're not just learning and then hoping I'm going to go deploy this. You're then put to the test. And when you're put to the test, you're corrected immediately. And you could ask Dave Smith here, when you're given that project bracelet for that 2 hours, 3 hours, and you have to lead the guys during this chaos that we create, we pull you apart aside and go, hey, you're yelling at your feet. The guys are 20 feet behind you. Like, have you thought about addressing them instead of just yelling because you're on autopilot? Oh my God, that's right. Or you're having an emotional meltdown. Do you think they respect you, or do you think they fear you right now? Oh shit, they fear me. Oh, okay. So if they had it their way, what are they going to do? They're going to bounce. Okay. So now you don't have a team. You're on your own. You're not going to survive. And so it's the feedback that we need. Leadership, it's a tell, show, do. This is why leadership books don't work. Leadership courses and experiences do work. You tell them, you show them, and then you have to watch them do it and give them feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Well said. Well said. And gents, this may be the last one, because again, we want to honor time here, and I want to make sure we can support B as he gets out here too. But we're going to end it here with the baddest man in Canada right here, Mr. Michael Hill.
Mr. Keuilian, what's up, bro?
How are you, Mr. Hill?
Good, thank you. Hey, man, we know history repeats itself. It's election year this year, brother. We're not playing it safe here at Apogee. We're going on offense. What's Bedros doing with your companies that's going on offense, man? Give us some stuff that you're doing to go on offense this year, brother.
Yeah. So in terms of my organization, my companies, we've stacked more money. The last 24 months, we've stacked more money than we normally do in the bank accounts because we don't know what's going to come. Could another pandemic be around the corner? Could an ENP explode because we're letting so many Chinese nationals through our porous borders? Hey, there's an idea of that. Mike Glover just put up a post the other day. If the EMP is so many miles up, we pretty much fuck up the entire United States. Yep. And so we're fortifying with more money in the bank accounts, number one. And we're realizing also the other part is we're fortifying our team members, that if you listen to mainstream media, they're going to put you in a state of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. FUD. The opposition wants us in FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. What we want to do is have an internal locus of control. So what are the things that we can control? Control the controllables, cope with the things you can't control, and concentrate on what counts. So the 3 C's: control the controllables, cope with what you can't control, concentrate on what counts, make sure that you don't fall into FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and then stack a lot of money, because money solves a lot of problems during election years.
Thanks, brother.
Yes, sir.
Well said. Guys, since I know you know the guy, we'll let this guy. Is that Sean Corcoran?
Hey, my brother Sean.
Yeah, let's get Mr. Corcoran in here with a smile. Yeah, there it is.
What's
Hey,
up?
Bedros, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I've got your text, and I'll be responding to it shortly after this.
Thank you, sir. So I'll be really quick. Faith, family, finance, fitness. If you got a dad who is struggling in life and says, I only have the ability to focus on one thing right now, of those 4 F-bombs, where would you direct him?
Fitness. Fitness. I would
And
say.
why? I should have said it. Why?
Well, if fitness is the gateway drug to a better man. When a man is fit, he's more confident. A confident man is more consistent and competent. When a man is fit, he is more attractive to his spouse. When a man is fit, if you're fit, you have discipline. You've shown consistency, focus, delayed gratification. For a man to focus on his fitness, he is forced to adopt every trait and skill that's necessary to build the other 3 pillars, which is faith, family, and finances. And so fitness is the gateway drug. And the reason I say fitness is because it impacts you directly, right? If I say family, you're like, okay, I'm going to work on my family. I'm going to do things for them. Or if I say finances, okay, I got to go out there and earn money. But if I say fitness, it is the most selfish thing you can do. Ironically, when you change, everything around you changes, because you're the domino that falls down and fixes everything else.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Brother, I know you've got plenty of things to do. You have come in and just given so much of your time. I know, man, I know how it is with you and for you, but I also know your heart, man, and I'm so grateful. So the last thing we'll just leave this where, like, listeners, where do they find us as an organization, though, man, as Apogee, everything that we're doing here? How can we support? Those are the last questions here, because I know you got to run too.
Man, I think the greatest way you guys can support is to be shining examples of humanity. Like, do not mute your voice. Doesn't matter if you have 100 followers or 100 million followers. Do not mute your voice. Stand up for what's right, even if it's not popular. I'm not looking for support for me. Just stand up for what's right, because we are literally shepherding this country into tyranny if we don't exercise our voice and give this country, or give the generation that's coming up, a better tools, ways to run this country. And so that is, like, I see great men who are just prolific speakers saying, well, I don't have a big following, so what can I do? You've got 1 million people. Bro, if you got 100 people following you, you can influence those 100 people. Each of them can touch one more person, and vice versa. Off you go. Like, yeah. And then if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, that's cool too.
Love it, man. Be so grateful for you, man.
Love you, dude, man. You're Matt, can I just talk about you for a minute before I go? So here's what I know. Here's what I know about you. You're a great human being. You take care of your family. You look out for people. You're humble as they come. And what I know about you, about your accomplishments, is not what I've heard from you, but from what I've heard from others, like Father Michael Butler and Tim Kennedy and others in our circle, which really says a lot about you, man. You're just this guy who's trucking along, doing your thing, serving humanity at such a high level. And I appreciate you for what you do. And I'm grateful that we got to finally meet in person out there in Mexico.
Yes, sir. I'm grateful for that. More than you know, brother. Thank you.
Thank you
for that. I'm gonna lead these guys through a debrief, man. I'll reach out and send thanks, and hopefully should be down there in your neck of the woods soon, man. So hopefully I see you.
Right on. I'll see you guys. Take care.